Shalom everyone. Many questions come up, especially by people who aren't used to this issue of Trumot Umaasrot, the way we separate some of the fruits or vegetables that we grow, set them aside, and eat all the rest. With the permission of Rav Hanan, our rabbi, I will explain practically the way we do this. We fulfill this special mitzvah, which is only here. We're fortunate to fulfill it only here in Eretz Yisrael. In front of us, we have a group of lemons and a group of kumquats. So firstly, I'll explain in general what is meant to be done, and then we'll see how it's done practically. So firstly, we have 4 different portions to set aside. Truma, Maaser Rishon, Trumat Maaser, and then either Maaser Sheni or Maaser Ani, depending on the year. So it goes like this. Truma Gdola, is meant to go to a Kohen, and there's no specific measurement of how much to give. It's a gift to the Kohen, but it doesn't say how much in the Torah, and by Chazal there are some measurements, but we don't fulfill them today because we actually don't give it to a Kohen, mainly because we're all impure, the Kohanim, the fruits, and this has to be eaten purely. So we just set it aside, and in the end it will be thrown away. Then we have the Maaser Rishon. The Maaser Rishon is 1/10 of the produce, 1/10, 10%, given to a Levi. This does not have to be eaten purely. Not the Levi nor the fruit have to be pure to be eaten. Rather, it can be eaten even in our days. The only issue is that no Levi can prove 100% that he's a real Levi. So therefore, if one wants to give it to a Levi, go ahead, it's very nice. We're Levim, I'm a Levi, except any of your fruit and vegetables. Just joking. But namely, it's enough to call it a name, as we'll soon do, and not even separate it away from the fruit, because it can be eaten by anyone. Even an Israel, or a Kohen, or a Sim Levi, whoever it may be, can eat the Maaser Rishon. Then, from that 10%, which is Maaser Rishon, the Levi is meant to separate 1/10 of what he received to give to a Kohen. Again, this portion cannot be eaten by anyone in our days because it has to be eaten purely. So we do that instead of the Levi. We take out the 1/10 of the 10th, 1% of the produce. We take away, and again that will be thrown away with the Truma Gdola. Finally, we have, depending on the year, we'll soon explain, either Maaser Sheni or Maaser Ani. Maaser Sheni, 1/10 of the remaining fruit, which is really 9%, because we've taken away 10% to the Levi, so we're left with 90% of what we had originally, and 10% of that is 9%. So 9% of the remaining fruit that we have, we were supposed to eat it in Yerushalayim purely, when we're pure and the fruit is pure. Again, this cannot be carried out in our days, so we redeem the holiness of the fruit that has the bears Maaser Sheni. Sorry, man. So we redeem the holiness of these fruit onto a coin, and then the fruit becomes non-holy, non-Maaser Sheni. The coin receives the holiness of the fruit. That's in general. We'll soon see how it's done practically. Last but not least, Maaser Ani. Certain years, instead of Maaser Sheni, we give those 9% away to a needy person, needy family, for them to eat, for them to have some food. Okay, So firstly, the years that we have Maaser Sheni versus Maaser Ani. So we know there's a 7-year cycle. We're soon nearing the 7th year of Shemitah. This coming year, Tafshin Pei Bet, will be the year of Shemitah. So within those 7 years, we have 6 years between each Shemitah. 4 out of the 6 are Maaser Sheni, the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th. Whereas 2 out of the 6 years are Maaser Ani, the 3rd and the 6th. What defines a year depends on the produce. If we talk about fruit, anything that grows from a tree, the year is dependent on Tu B'Shvat. We just commemorated last week Tu B'Shvat. That marks the change of the agricultural year for trees. Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot. Therefore, any fruit that begins to sprout after Tu B'Shvat, the beginning, after the bud falls from the tree, the beginning of the very beginning of the tiny fruit that begins to grow, if that happens after Tu B'Shvat, then it's considered part of the following year. If it happens before Tu B'Shvat, so that fruit, even though it may grow, majority of it may grow during the time after Tu B'Shvat, it doesn't matter. We go by the very beginning of the sprouting, that's called Chanata. So, for example, right now, since we passed Tu B'Shvat of Tafshin Pei Aleph, the year we're in now, so we've switched from Maaser Sheni to Maaser Ani, because up until Tu B'Shvat, it was the 5th year of the cycle, and right now after Tu B'Shvat, we began the 6th year of the cycle. So right now, any fruit that begins to sprout on a tree as of a few days ago will be now considered Maaser Ani, and we have to take out those 9% and give them to a needy family. But whatever sprouted before Tu B'Shvat is still Maaser Sheni, even if we pick it from the tree a month ahead of now, it still will be Maaser Sheni. So you must notice on your tree when each specific fruit sprouted before or after Tu B'Shvat. Okay, that's for fruits. But for vegetables, anything that grows directly from the ground, it goes by Rosh Hashanah. The moment Rosh Hashanah of Tafshin Pei Aleph entered, which was a few months ago, that's when we get the Maaser Ani. Yes, this is the 6th year. Maaser Ani begins for the vegetables, had begun for the vegetables right after Rosh Hashanah of a few months ago.